This episode is brought to you by Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard of Anchor, you should definitely check them out. It's a super easy tool that anyone can use to create and distribute their podcast. It has everything you need, and you can do it all from your computer or even your phone. Need your podcast cover art? There's a tool. Music and sound effects? They have you covered. Want to record on the fly? It's easy with the app. Now you may be saying to yourself, I already have a podcast. No worries, just create your account, upload, and publish to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Looking for some walking around money? Anchor connects you with advertisers who match your brand. It's a one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
You're listening to BizQuik. This is where Julie and Corey provide quick and useful information to small business owners. BizQuik is the podcast where small business owners get to showcase their businesses and receive expert advice and guidance in areas many entrepreneurs struggle with. And you, the listener, get solutions, tips, and tricks on real-world topics that many small business owners face. Julie and Corey are the experts small businesses hire when they need solutions. And the BizQuik podcast is just one way they deliver those solutions. Let's start the show.
Hello and welcome to BizQuik. I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey.
And today we're tackling the topic of time management. No guests today. It's just Corey and I talking throughout the show. And we've got a lot of ground to cover on time management. We have a course coming out that is all about time management and helping you to master it. And this is a really good lead into some of the things that you'll learn there. So Corey, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Julie. How are you doing today?
I am good. This is one of those days where our schedule kind of got derailed a little bit throughout the day.
Really derailed today.
Yeah, so this is a good day to be talking about time management
Yes.
because we did not have the best time management day today, did we?
No, we didn't. Every single meeting we had today went over and then some.
Yes, every single one did. And that, I guess that happens when you're working with clients though, right?
Yep.
All right. So I'm just going to start off by asking you a question about time management. And that is, how would you rate yourself as being effective with time management?
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say I'm probably, it depends on the day, but on average, I'm probably like a 6, maybe.
A 6. Okay. How do you think I am with time management?
Depending on the day.
This is going to hurt. I can see it already.
It's I'd say you're better than me on average. There's some days that are better than others, and you're much better at least attempting to work out scheduling and times and scheduling the day and blocking off time and all of that, where I'm a little more loose with my schedule.
You are definitely looser with your schedule than I am. I am with my own time. I don't like to be regimented, right? Because I don't want to suddenly feel like having a business is like working for corporate America again, right?
Sure.
So I try to have some flexibility in there, but I'm really good at planning the priorities.
Yeah.
That I am very good at.
And I think that it for time management, especially like for me, when I say I'm a little more loose, it's you have that list of things that like for me, I have that list of things that I need to get done for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And I just start chipping away at that list. And I know I'm like, all right, well, I might have to stay up a little later tonight or, whatever it is based upon everything going on. And it's calls going over, calls getting scheduled that I wasn't planned for, whatever it is, like things pop up, but mostly it's going off the list of, okay, here's everything that has to get done this week. And as soon as it's done, everything else is gravy.
Yeah. And two things. First off, calls pop up on our schedule all the time, right? Like yesterday afternoon at like noontime, our day was completely empty today. With the exception of recording this podcast, we didn't have anything else on the schedule. And by like 6:00 last night, that calendar was full for today. So we originally wanted to record this much earlier in the day. And, it's late in the day now and we're just getting to it because we had so many other things pop up. And that's certainly one of the things you have to be able to do is navigate around that. The other thing is one area where I think we're exceptionally good at time management and gives us the, some credibility to speak to it is that we sit down together and look at like, what are the things that absolutely have to get done this week? And, create this Google Doc every week that goes through like, these are the days, this is what has to be done on these days, right? And who owns that task. And we don't have to spend any time going back and forth asking like, hey, did you do that thing? Because all we have to do is go look on the sheet and see, is it crossed off? Okay, it's done. If it's not crossed off, then it's like, okay, let me check in and see if it's done, especially if it's like a hinge task where I can't do something till you were supposed to have done something else, or vice versa.
Yeah, and we're pretty good at that. And there's other times where we forget to cross things off when we've completed something but forgot to cross it off, or we've crossed something off and the other person just assumes that we haven't done it yet. And, it's like, did you do that thing? Yeah, it's crossed off. Oh, that's my fault for not looking at the sheet.
Yes. And I know lately I've been crossing some of your stuff off, and I always feel like I'm stealing your joy when I do that. That
is one of my favorite things.
I know how much you like to cross things off of lists. So I try not to do it, but I'm also like, I want that list to reflect where we actually are with things.
Sure. But let's get into some of the ways to manage time. And I think that talking about how quickly today's calendar filled up just over the course of a couple hours yesterday is a good example. So I like to block time on the calendar that nobody else can schedule over, essentially. And I had a tentative meeting scheduled for today, and I looked at the calendar and there's nothing on it. And I was like, no big deal. And so I didn't bother to block any time off. And then late last night, you'd mentioned that, we had a busy day today. And I was like, oh, crap. I need some time for this meeting that I didn't put on the calendar because I didn't think I was going to need to. But yeah, blocking off time on the calendar just so you can work on things you need to work on, or just have time off. I mean, that's one of the things that I used to do in corporate America all the time, is just, especially when I was working hand in hand with the gin bot, and she put multiple meetings on my calendar. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just like, every open hour that I have, I'm blocking off. I've got a meeting there. And they're like, what's your meeting? I'm like, I got a phone call with the West Coast. No, I just needed some time to do work.
Yep. Months ago, you blocked our calendars until 10 a.m. every day so that nobody could schedule anything in the morning for us. And it was great because, one, you're not really a morning person. And so it removed the possibility that something was going to get scheduled early morning, and it was going to kind of throw a wrench in your day in terms of being able to productively attend a meeting or do something. But my most productive time is in the morning. And so by having that time blocked for me, I can get all of those really critical, high priority tasks done between like 6 and 10 a.m. and be like, okay, I know that this stuff isn't going to fall through the cracks. So it's a strategy that works really, really well for us. And I think, knowing when your most productive time is huge.
Yeah. And I know that nobody's going to schedule a meeting at 10 p.m. So
now we have a client in Hawaii, so there's a chance it could happen, except for they can't because our calendar doesn't allow for it.
I did tell them, I was like, hey, I'm a night owl. So if you want to, we can meet late, but so let's go on. Let's move on. We've kind of beat that to death, I think. So what are some other ways that you effectively manage your time?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I do my planning on Sundays, excuse me, for the whole week, like for the priorities, right? I kind of look at the calendar and see what days do we have where we have a little bit more flexibility, where there's not a lot of things scheduled yet. And then I may take a couple of hours on those days and block them so that they don't get scheduled. But I look on Sundays and map out like what my week looks like. I also have started where I have blocked in the morning at like from 5:30 to 7 to be able to do like get a workout in, do some reading, like those things that I like to do, that if I don't do those things first thing, so they're not work related, but they make me better at work. I block time in the morning to be able to do those things so I can be more productive, because I don't want to spend 14 hours a day just working on the business. I want to also be able to do some things that are just for me. So that's one of my tricks. Mornings blocked and Sundays I plan. What about you?
I just like to set deadlines for myself. I work well with deadlines. So.
Do you work well with deadlines where you're creeping up on them and you like that sense of like the rush of having to complete something by a deadline?
No, I just like the structure of having like, this has to be done by this day. So the way that you set up the schedules for the week is helpful because it's on this day, this thing needs to get done. Now there isn't a time, which is great, but it's like, as long as Wednesday, this task is complete, it's like, I know that's all I have to do, for that one particular, whatever it is for that week. And then, like I said, if there's extra time in the day, it's nice to get ahead, a little bit ahead. You can't get so far ahead, but you can get a little bit ahead, but yeah.
You're kind of, when it comes to work, you're kind of a silent assassin in that you can get more done in like an 8-hour day than almost anybody I know. Like when you are on, you are so productive. Like, right. Like when you're like really firing all cylinders, like you can knock out like 20 videos in like 2 hours. I mean, like, all right, done. And then there are other days where if you don't have like a very, and I don't know, this is more of a question, I guess. If you don't have a plan for the day, it feels like there are days where you're just like producing nothing. And it's like, what's he doing over there today?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's definitely, that's the ADD kicking in for sure, where it's just like, oh, well, I don't really have anything that I need to focus on today. So I'll kind of do a little bit of that. I'll do a little bit of this. I'll look at this other thing over here. I'll look at like 2 weeks ahead. And yeah.
So that's the downfall of context switching, right? Where like, do you think, so context switching?
Yeah, that's the question that you put on here. And I was going to ask you that because I don't even know what that is. What is context switching?
That's great. So, and that was completely accidental. Nice lead in. So context switching is when you work on something for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. And then you're like, oh, let me go work on this. And then you switch over and you start working on that. And then you switch, and maybe you switch back to the first thing, or you're switching between tasks and not finishing tasks. You're just moving through them. The problem with context switching is people always they underestimate the amount of time it takes them to actually acclimate and get back into the groove of working on that new thing. And so it really takes away from their ability to be uber productive. You know who taught me context switching?
Who?
Rick Painter.
Ah.
Yes.
Never thought I'd hear his name on this podcast, but
now we've heard it.
Yeah.
Yes. But context switching, I'm guessing, is a problem, or some, I'll use the word problem, but it's something that I'm guessing people with ADD and ADHD face a lot, right? Where they're like constantly moving between things. So I have an ADHD podcast you can go listen to.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, go listen to our podcast with John Torrance.
The one that we recorded?
Yes.
I was there.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, and that's like, I totally agree on that, because you know how my love for Excel, and I'll go in and I'll build this amazing formula out and everything. And then if I don't finish what I'm doing on that worksheet, it takes me probably just as much time to go back in and remember what I was doing. So I have to go back in and look at the formula and then backtrack and like, why did I get to where I was like, oh, I just finished the thing that I was working on.
Yeah.
So yeah, finish what you started. That's my tip for the day.
Yes. Finish what you started. Exactly. We should probably take a quick commercial break. Sure. And this feels like a good time to do that. So let's take a quick break and we will be right back to talk more about time management.
Hey everyone. We wanted to take a quick break to tell you about our upcoming course on time management that launches on Monday, April 12th. If you ever find yourself asking for more hours in the day or time with the family, this is what you need to help master your time and your schedule. The course is called Time Bomb, and all the details can be found on our site under the Courses tab. Starting on April 12th, we'll have a completely free assessment designed to help you understand where you're strong and where you may need to focus to help you improve how you use the 24 hours we all get each day. Be sure to also check out our partners and the bundle offer we have that will give you a few additional tools to help you take control of your days. You can find out all the information you need on sbpace.com.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are continuing our conversation on time management, and we are going to get on to the next question. So we just finished context switching.
Can I pick the next one?
Sure, go right ahead.
I would love to talk about, I struggle with this one a lot. So I just would love your thoughts on this. So there's this sort of do more culture, right? Where you have people that, they think that it's cool, or it gives them credibility to be working 24/7, or, just long, exhaustive days, not taking vacation. And I hear this a lot in some of the networking groups that I'm in, where, it's 5 o'clock on Friday, and it's, most people are going to knock off for the weekend. And that's when you'll see the messages like, oh, this is separation time. This is where the real entrepreneurs and, the real like small business owners or business owners, this is where they set themselves apart. And you're like, shit, now should I take time off tonight, or should I keep working? Right. And because I'm so frequently I'm not saying that I am, but because I am so frequently surrounded by, like, my network is really high performers, right? I'm not saying I'm a high performer, but that's a lot of people in my network are. I sometimes feel crippled by those types of statements of, you should be working more, and like, keep pushing. There's always work to be done. Don't waste the weekends. And you're such a proponent of balance, and you got to take the time off. And so I've got it's this push pull thing for me. And I want to talk about this.
Yeah. I agree that being an entrepreneur, you have to put in extra time. You have to work harder. You have to be willing to work hours that you wouldn't if you had that crappy, corporate job. But overall, you got to have time off. Friday afternoon's a beautiful day. Fuck it. Go for a walk. Go for a bike ride, whatever. Beautiful day today. I'm not going to get cooped up inside this afternoon on the computer. Today's already a waste in my book because it already got blown out of the water with all the client calls. So I just wrote off Friday. Why not?
Well, that's a terrible tip for time management, Corey. That's terrible. But I guess the reality is this, right? You can still participate in separation season, if you will, without having to work every minute of your weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, like, with the balance is you have to spend time. I mean, what's the point in being successful and having, multiple businesses and all this money and whatever, if you're not really enjoying it? Now, if that's what you really enjoy doing, that's great. But, I don't think anybody enjoys neglecting their friends and family.
If your friends and family are assholes, you might.
Yeah, well, find a new set of friends, build a new family. No, but what I'm saying is, today it's a beautiful afternoon, and I'm not going to beat myself up because I wasn't very productive today. Go enjoy the afternoon, and then this evening I got nothing on the schedule, so it's do a couple hours of work tonight just because what else am I going to do?
Yeah,
type of thing. But yeah, it's taking time off to do other things is important because you need to be able to clear your head in order to, you can't work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week and actually feel like you're being productive. It's like the whole analogy of, the duck swimming and it looks all peaceful, but it's like paddling his little legs underneath the water or whatever. And it's like, you're just paddling to paddle. Like, you can just sit sometimes and just let the current take you every once in a while.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said for what happens with your brain when you get out in nature, right? And you're able to reset and come up with ideas and think of things from a different perspective. So that's always, that's part of that balance. And I'm a big proponent of that. Definitely.
From a mental health standpoint as well. Like, if you can't, you're not going to be productive in your business if all you're doing is focusing on the business. You have to step back. You have to reset. You have to focus on something else, whether it's a hobby, cooking dinner, whatever it is. There has to be, you need to step away. Otherwise you're again, we were talking about this yesterday when I explained that one point in the course we were making, and you're like, well, I don't understand this. And I was like, well, you can only do so much work. You can only get so far ahead of the game. And, some people are like, oh, I can fine tune this. And like perfection is going to be an issue. So, you need to get it to 95% and be happy with that. And then you need to be able to say, okay, I've got next week planned and I've got next month planned out. And I kind of know what I'm going to do the next month after that, but I'm not going to worry about what's happening 3 months from now, because what happens next month could totally change what happens 3 months from now.
Yeah. And I think, we do for us, we do a good job of, we laid out a really good plan. The the guideposts, I guess, for the plan for the year, right? We're like, these are the things we want to accomplish. This is what we're going to look at. And then we sat down probably mid-February and we're like, okay, we are like 6-7 weeks into the year. These are the things we were supposed to be focusing on Q1. How many of those are still true? Like, let's throw that overboard. Let's push that. Let's yes, this. And we added some things in that weren't originally there. And we took some things out and then we figured out how to plan around that. But when you start with that overarching plan, right? Like the big picture, and you just decompose it all the way down to, quarterly, then monthly, and then you can build a weekly plan around that, then it makes it easier to manage your time and to make sure that you're focusing on the priorities of the business. It's really easy to focus on the small shit, right? Like I could get lost on social media for 8 hours a day and not doing social media because I enjoy social media, because I think we all know I don't, but being able to go in and, prospect for clients and be, trying to engage with potential people and join all these different groups on Facebook and read posts and see, hey, who needs a business plan creator, or who's struggling with time management, or, oh, who's really, really not clear at all on how to grow their business, and figure out how we can help them. But in all honesty, I don't know, those aren't the most effective things for me to do with my time, especially if that's not scheduled.
Yeah, I will say that your dislike of social media is debatable.
No.
Being the very social one out of the two of us, but I'm not going to get into that conversation on this podcast.
I am social, but that doesn't mean I like social media.
I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. How about that?
Okay, let's move on. Let's do it.
Let's talk about the excuses that most people give for poor time management.
That's not what the question says.
Oh, do you want me to say shitty? Okay, shitty time management.
Yes. Okay. Number one excuse you hear. Let's see. The number one excuse I hear for why people have shitty time management is because everyone else takes control of their day.
Yeah, the other one, and this was, I was guilty of this for the longest time. I'm the only one that knows how to do everything.
Oh, Corey. Yes, you still use that on me.
Well, that's because you don't know how to do anything.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Except for social media. But no.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that those are two. I think they're pretty similar in terms of the root cause, and that's when it comes to like training and delegation, like being able to get your team to a point where they can be somewhat autonomous.
I would say I agreed. But I would say another thing too, because I'm starting to think, I'm thinking faster than I'm talking right now. And I'm thinking about people who are like solopreneurs, or there's only two of them in the business like us, right? And there's a lot of work that has to be done. There's only so many hours in the day. And so people that don't prioritize, they don't know like what are the most important things that we can do, that I can do, or we can do for the business, right? And thinking about like using the method of stay close to the cash, right? So is this going to bring us revenue? How close to revenue is revenue generation is this task? And if it's not close, it's probably not a super high priority, right? Unless it's, something that's going to help you avoid a lawsuit or something.
Sure. And I mean, you can't forget about the things that support all of the stuff, because I hate, being the back end person, the back of the house person in restaurants, and, when I was in corporate America, being the person who's in procurement or whatever, like supporting everybody else. Everybody's like, oh, it's sales. And I'm like, don't forget about everybody that's making sure that sales can sell.
Oh yeah. So, and that's the funny thing. Like I look at like when you're doing stuff for us in Kajabi, like 100%, like I think that aligns directly with staying close to the cash.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, not you, but a lot of people, they're like, well, we need to work more on sales. We need to sell.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, you gotta have that support system. You gotta have that foundation. You have to have that framework in order to be successful at selling. And that's something that a lot of people, they overlook everything that goes into that, especially if you're talking about growing your business or buying out a competitor or hiring a new employee even. I mean, something as simple as that.
So let me ask you a question. So let's just say that somebody has a product-based business. One of our listeners has a product-based business, and they make, the product that they make, they spend so much time focusing on the quality and the craftsmanship of the product that they can't ever even estimate how long it will take to make the product, right? They're making it and it just takes forever for them to, it could take them 2 hours. It could take them 40 hours, just depending on how much time and how close they want to get to perfect on it. Right. And it is a perfectionism problem, but so that's as close to the cash as you can get, because that's the product, right? That's what people are buying. But what guidance would you give to somebody who is really stuck on making their product just perfect and they're not focusing on the other parts of the business?
Is this making this product for production or like design phase still?
No, it's for production.
So they're producing it to sell it, to push it out the door.
Yes.
Okay. It's all about processes there. It's documenting what you do, how you do it, and figuring out where you could just save time, save money. So it's, batching. Remember that one person we talked to a while ago, they had a product, and I'm not going to get into it, but they were making things like one at a time and order at a time.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, why don't you make 50 at a time?
Yes.
It took her, 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah, and it would have taken her 2 hours to
two
make
and a half hours to make 50.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, so just documenting the process, reviewing it start to finish, and then figuring out places where you can save time, you can save money, you can outsource, because it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, you might outsource the product to a company to produce for you, and maybe the quality is not as good, but it's still acceptable. But that's going to save you a ton of time where you can actually just sell the product and make money.
Yeah. Or if you insist on spending that much time on the product, then you probably need to raise your prices because you're limited in what you can do. Or your capacity has a cap.
Hire help to help produce it. Hire a sales team to sell for you. I mean, there's a ton of directions that you could go to improve that. And, we have another a friend who is having that problem where it's like, it takes time, and they need to be hands-on, and it's like every single product has to, and it's like, okay, at some point you're going to like, if you want to ramp this up, you're going to have to give up some sort of control in the process. You're going to have to outsource, you're going to have to hire, you're going to have to do something, because you can't make every single thing that you're putting out.
Right. There's not enough of you to meet the demand of the product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I 100% agree. So, and it's interesting that I would not have thought that was a process, wouldn't have been the first place that I went as a solution for that. So I'm glad that I asked that question, because that's helpful.
Okay. Well, I think we need to start wrapping this up here. But before we go, what is one tip that you would give to everybody out there to improve their time management skills?
One tip that I would give to everybody to improve their time management skills is to plan their week, right? So plan your week out for the high priority work that has to be done. And then each morning, the first thing that you should do is look at what's on your calendar or your task list for the day. And you're going to have to make adjustments as you go, especially if you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, and you don't know what's coming up. And so be able to, be a little bit nimble with it, but you need the structure, you need the framework of a plan to get you through the week. How about you? What would your tip be?
I'm going to go back to what I was talking about at the beginning, and it's just blocking off time on your calendar for what I like to call free play. So, it could be that time that you're using to complete tasks. It could be that time that you just want to go for a walk. It could be, I'm going to go take a nap, whatever it is. Like, just make sure that there's time in the day that you can utilize if your calls go over, if, an emergency arises, if, your kid gets the flu and has to stay home, and now you can't do everything that you wanted to do that day, and you could push it off to a later day in the week.
That's great advice. And at some point we're gonna have to talk about naps, because I don't understand how you can nap and then still sleep at night.
That's a different podcast.
That is a different podcast.
Yes.
So, well, listen, we didn't have a guest, so thank you for having this conversation
You're
today.
welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was enjoyable. Thanks to our listeners for tuning in. We appreciate you, and we hope that you found this information helpful.
And if you want to connect with us, reach out on social media. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we now have a YouTube channel. All of that is on our website, sbpace.com. And if you want to reach out, all of our contact info is out there as well.
And you know what we would love? If you subscribed to our podcast. We love it when people subscribe, and we love it even more when they like us and they leave us a review. Man, do we love feedback.
And if you want to be a guest on the show, go to sbpace.com. We've got a form out there that you can fill out. Or if you want us to cover a certain topic, we are also happy to do that. Just reach out and let us know. While you're on our website, click through to buy our book on Amazon. It was the #1 bestseller. It is called Seriously Now What? A Small Business Guide to Disaster Preparedness. Like it and give us a review. And if you've already purchased the book, go back and give us a review, please. We love the reviews.
Yeah, 1 star, 5 star. We'll take them all. We love them. I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey.
And this was BizQuik, helping small businesses across America.